Well, hello again. It's Sunday, the 4th of January, 2026. Happy New Year, everybody. Now, I've got a rather more swish notebook today. I stayed in quite a nice hotel not so long ago, and there was these left that little notebook for big ideas. You know, there's some other books there as well in each room, and you can keep them. And you know, you can plan your day when you go and do a bit of sightseeing. Unfortunately, I didn't have time for that. I was there. I was working, so the company paid for me to stay there. I didn't have time for any sightseeing. Anyway, it's quite a nice notebook. Better than the usual scruffy little tear-off pads. So, what have I seen this week? I've seen a few things that I thought were worthy of comment. Some complete and utter bullshit. Some backpedaling. So, I've written here, what have I seen this week in the steaming pile that is the great UFO-tainment swindle. So I'm going to be talking about Mr. Borland, Mr. Nolan, Mr. Elizondo, someone called Jay Anderson on Rogan, and Jacques Vallee, Eric Burlison, and Elizondo's lawyer. That was funny. Oh dear, it's a complete smorgasbord of bullshit. Right, let's get to the details, the nitty-gritty. What have I seen? Now, I missed this the first time round. I saw Borland on Weaponized, and I'm pretty sure it was on Weaponized, where he said, you know, he proved we're not alone in the cosmos with his hand-drawn sketch of a flying triangle that was immediately put into a SAP, classified. So, beyond that, I didn't really think about it much beyond that, because to make a claim like that, you cannot be right in the noggin. There must be something wrong between the ears. If you think you can do a sketch that proves we are not alone in the cosmos, you're not quite running on all cylinders. So he was talking to Knapp and Corbelll, and he was saying, "Oh, my clearances are gone, my master's degree gone." Now I missed that. I was never aware that Borland had claimed a master's degree or that it had gone. Now this smacks of Bob Lazar, doesn't it? You know, Bob Lazar, people still take Bob Lazar seriously, goodness knows why. I mean, he can't produce any of his claimed qualification certificates, he can't produce any of the coursework, he doesn't appear in any of the yearbooks, he can't name one of his lecturers, no one remembers him being there. Lazar is another fantasist. He's a fraud, obviously, you know. Now, has Borland taken a leaf out of Lazar's book? Is he impressed by that? Does Borland think, well, you know, Lazar can get away with it and some people think he's credible, maybe I can too? So now Borland's got a missing master's degree, apparently. So, I wonder if anyone's going to challenge Borland on that. What subject was it in? What year did he take it? Can he produce the certificate? Can he produce any of the coursework? Can he name any of his lecturers? At what university did he attend? So if you're going to interview Dylan Borland, ask him those questions. You said your master's degree is gone, Mr. Borland. Can you produce the certificate? Can you show us in any of the yearbooks of the university you claim to have attended? I think he's not quite right in the noggin. I think he's not firing on all cylinders, Mr. Borland. Yeah, so his employment is gone, his master's degree is gone, his clearances are gone. Now, now what is a little peculiar is that Borland has told us in the past that when he was in the Air Force, he described his position as an active duty enlisted capacity. So Borland said when he was in the Air Force, he was an active duty enlisted capacity. Now, there won't be many enlisted people with master's degrees, I suspect. I think if he had a master's degree, he would have been a commissioned officer. The military tend to make the most of their well-educated people, don't they? So I very much doubt Borland has got a master's degree, has ever had a master's degree. Certainly his background doesn't support that, does it? You know, he's an enlisted guy. He's an analyst, so he's looking at vision from drones or images from drones and saying, well, I think this is this, I think this is this, I think this is this. Probably has other team members that would agree or disagree, because you're probably talking about someone getting a Hellfire missile enema. So you need to be right when you're doing this sort of stuff. Well, unless you're Donald Trump, of course. Could just out be sailing in the Caribbean. Oh dear. So, what would you expect someone with a master's degree to be doing in the Air Force? Well, it would depend on the subject, wouldn't it? So, if you're going to interview Borland, ask him that. What subject? What university? Why wasn't he commissioned in the Air Force? Why wasn't he using that degree in the Air Force? Unless he's got a master's degree in origami, of course. Seems a fairly popular one. Some of the people that claim to be professors on YouTube seem to know nothing about science. So I really wouldn't waste my time with Dylan Borland. I honestly believe that he's not quite right in the head. You know, I mean, you'd have to have the IQ of a cheese and pickle sandwich to believe that he could draw a sketch of a flying triangle, and that would prove we are not alone in the cosmos. No one's going to believe that. And he actually says this as though he expects people to believe it. What sort of people does he surround himself with, you know? Nuccetelli? Brown? Oh yeah, we believe that, Don, yeah. You're our saviour. You've proved we're not alone in the cosmos with that sketch. God dear me. Okay, so, as I say, my personal opinion, Borland is a fantasist, just like the Tsar. I mean, he might be delusional, he might believe what he's saying, especially if he says things like, you know, I've drawn a sketch of a flying triangle that proves we're not alone in the cosmos. I mean, does he believe that to the extent that he expects others to believe that? I mean, there might just be something wrong up there with him. What he isn't is a first-hand witness to ET technology. Nobody is. There's no ET technology here. He tells us he took his story to Arrow. He didn't get to see Sean Kirkpatrick, so this is a while ago. But I get the impression they told him that they thought his story was science fiction rubbish. Remember, Arrow has said there is zero tangible evidence to support ETs coming here, ETs crashing here, or ET technology being reverse engineered here. So whatever Borland has told them has been kicked into touch as science fiction rubbish. Sean Kirkpatrick said, just a core of science fiction piffle peddlers, there is zero tangible evidence to support any of it. And part of that is probably what Borland said, I suspect. And he's got upset because they're not taking him seriously. I mean, all these guys were crying for something like Arrow. We want someone to investigate and look into this, you know. So Arrow was formed. They've got all the clearances, they can hear any testimony, they can look into any compartment, any project, they can talk to any contractors. No skiffs are required. And they found nothing. They can find no tangible evidence of any ET technology here on Earth, ET biology here on Earth. Now the fanboys, because the fanboys are not hearing what they want to hear, they expected Arrow would look into it and find it's all true, find Roswell was true. Arrow's finding it's all science fiction rubbish. But the fanboys don't want to hear that. So now they're saying, get rid of Arrow. Oh, Arrow. Oh, you know, Arrow's a pariah. Get rid of Arrow. Because they're not hearing what they want to hear. They're not interested in the truth. There is only one narrative they will accept, and that's that it's all true and it's been hidden for decades. They're not interested in anything else. And they're going to be disappointed for the rest of their lives, because nothing is ever going to be disclosed, because there's nothing, certainly ET related, to disclose. So the Pentagon has also made an official statement, saying there is no tangible evidence of extraterrestrials ever coming to this planet. Not now, not in the past. There's no evidence of them coming here, no evidence of them crashing here, no tangible evidence of them, their technology being reverse engineered. That's an official statement from the Pentagon. They will be advised by Arrow, of course. Arrow is the key organisation that looks into this. So anything Arrow says, the Pentagon is going to repeat. Okay, so yeah, so in my opinion, Borland, just another fake whistleblower. Put a line through Borland, waste of time. Now apparently CBS wanted to get, I got the impression this was fairly recently. Apparently CBS wanted to get Gary Nolan to debate Mick West, have a live debate. How long do you reckon that lasts? Nolan refused, stating Mick West is not a scientist. Gary Nolan will find any excuse not to debate any debunker. He said the same bullshit about Neil deGrasse Tyson. He's a real scientist. He said he's not a real scientist. He doesn't do any experiments. He should have his PhD taken off him. I'm not going to debate him. The truth of the matter is, of course, that Gary Nolan knows he would be crucified in any debate with a debunker within minutes. His claims are beyond ludicrous. So, he'll wriggle and squirm and try and big note himself, talk himself up. Oh, I couldn't lower myself to debate these people, And of course, it's a ploy. He knows that unless he surrounds himself with a back-slapping echo chamber, everything he says can be torn to shreds within minutes. I could debate Gary Nolan and destroy him in 2 minutes. Anybody could. But oh no, he won't do that, So he says it's not worth debating these peons. Who are these people? He'll never get into a situation where he will be asked any real questions. Nolan is hiding under the table. His debunker's still there. Anyone going to ask me any real questions before I come out from under the table? Oh dear, anyone with an IQ bigger than their shoe size would challenge his ludicrous aliens in the bedroom claim. Aliens watching him in his bedroom for weeks when he was a kid. He's such an interesting guy, Gary Nolan. When he was a kid even, these aliens are crossing the galaxy. Out of all the billions of people here on Earth, they single him out. And how do they get in his bedroom? He doesn't say, does he? They materialise in his bedroom, stand around his bed and just watch him. They don't communicate with him. They look through the windows at him. He's such a fascinating study, Gary Nolan. These aliens... And they're doing this for weeks, so let's go to Earth, we're going to pick someone at random. We'll pick this kid at random. He never said how old he was, but he's sharing a bedroom with his brother. And we're just going to stand around his bed and we're going to look through his bedroom window for weeks and weeks and weeks. That's a real value for money mission, that, isn't it? Light years of space. We're going to pick that house there and we're going to watch that kid for weeks. I don't think so. Just think about that for a minute, you know. Aliens crossing the galaxy, you know, all the billions of people on Earth. They pick Gary Nolan, and then they go and materialise, or they climb through the windows, or they come down the chimney like Santa. Stand around his bed watching him. The other thing to consider here is that... Oh, actually, I'll do that in a minute. Now, when he was a grown-up, when he was an adult, apparently, he was just about to start work as a professor at Stanford, and an alien appeared in his bedroom. Again, we don't know how he got in there, through the window, down the chimney. Was he wearing a red suit, you know, with white furry cuffs, little pointy hat with a white bobble on the end? What time of year was it? And this star traveller has crossed light years of space, and he's singled out Gary Nolan. I'm going to materialise in his bedroom, and I'm going to deliver this profound message to mankind. And this guy can be the mouthpiece of my species. And he says to Nolan, go to sleep. People believe this. And Nolan, remember at the SORT conference, he said, oh yeah, I'm 100% sure aliens are coming here. Now, it wasn't at the SORT conference, I don't think, but somebody said to him, it's right, it was after the SORT conference, and they said, how do you know, at the SORT conference you said you were 100% sure aliens are coming here, how do you know that? And Nolan said, well, I don't, it's just my opinion, I don't know that, it's just my opinion. Well, if he's had aliens in his bedroom for weeks on end when he was a kid, and he had an alien visit him just before as an adult, just before he started work at Stanford, that said to him, go to sleep, how can he not know? Does he not believe his own bullshit? Does he forget he's told these stupid stories, these ludicrous yarns? This is why Gary Nolan won't go anywhere near a debate with a debunker. He'll be ripped to shreds within minutes. You've got to bear in mind too that actually, yeah, it hasn't got much of an imagination either, has it? Because most people that get visited by aliens, the alien gives them an eco message. You know, you've got to look after the planet. You know, you're not doing it. You've got to be friends. You've got to be pals. He didn't get that message. The alien, light years across space, materialised in his bedroom. You go to sleep. The other thing you've got to consider with Nolan is that he was tied up with the TTSA, zero credibility outfit, Hal Puthoff, Eric Davis, Elizondo, Jim Semivan. All of these people have said they've got no personal experience with extraterrestrial technology or biology, although I suspect Hal Puthoff and Eric Davis told Tom DeLonge that they did have, because Tom DeLonge said, we're going to build a starship. You know, Hal Puthoff and Eric Davis say, you know, we're going to shoot down to Radio Shack, and we're going to pick up a few bits and pieces, then we're going to go down to Walmart and get some planks of wood, and then we're going to IKEA and get some chairs for the crew, and we're going to build a starship this weekend. You know, send us your money. Loads of money. No starship. So the TTSA, complete and utter bullshit, you know, and they were talking about this metamaterial, you know, the magnesium bismuth layered material, the scum that floats on top of molten lead, part of the lead purification process, better than Kroll lead purification process. Might leave a link to that below. You know, and Gary Nolan makes a point of asking the wrong questions. He doesn't say, what process would create this material? He says, this is an unusual material, you know, who would engineer this? What possible purpose could this material have? You know, why would someone engineer this material? And of course, nobody did engineer it. Surely he's smart enough to know that. He's trying to steer the narrative. You know, it's... Either he's not very smart at all, or he was deliberately asking the wrong questions to create intrigue. You know, he's got this metamaterial. You know, Why would anybody engineer this layered material like this? It's got this really strange structure, and not what process would create this material. He has to create intrigue by suggesting it was engineered to do a job, and of course it wasn't. Just scum on top of liquid molten lead, and scrape it off and throw it away. It's not engineered for a purpose. That's Gary Nolan again, And apparently, if you want to interview Gary Nolan, there are certain things you can't ask him. He wants to steer the narrative. Apparently, Elizondo is the same. Can't ask that. Can't ask that. Can't ask any really challenging questions. You can only ask fluffy stuff. Stuff that they can create a bit of intrigue around, because there is none. So personally, and he's involved in Skywatcher as well, and we all know what a load of rubbish Skywatcher is. Skywatcher, psionically summoning alien spacecraft. As I've said before, the arrogance of that. Flying light years across space, and they're just waiting to be summoned by Skywatcher, by Jake Barber and his Skywatchers. It's just ludicrous nonsense, and Gary Nolan supports this. Showed a fuzzy blob image last week. Well, it's not a bug. He can't tell what it is. He can't say definitively that's not a bug. So he's got some strange... He's got some very poor associations. Personally, I'd put a line through anyone that was involved with the TTSA or Skywatcher as being a complete waste of time. He's a co-founder of the Soul Foundation. That's no better. They're presenting people telling science fiction stories. They had Nuccetelli on there recently. It's all rubbish. It's a complete waste of time. Nolan's up to hearing it. So, personally, I don't think Nolan's credible. I'd put a line through anything Nolan says with regard ETs and aliens. I think he's a fanboy. He's told us when he was a kid he used to read all these science fiction stories, filled his head with all this science fiction rubbish. And then he goes to bed and his bedroom's full of aliens. Surprise, surprise. So, deliberately ask stupid questions. Either that or he's really not very smart. He tries to steer the narrative, tries to create intrigue. Personally, I don't think he's credible. Put a line through Gary Nolan. Gary Nolan would love to make fools of debunkers. He would love to make Mick West look that small. He can't. He knows that. He knows he'd be crucified. That's why he has to make up every excuse under the sun as to why he won't debate anybody that's going to give him any real questions. That's the bottom line. That should be, smack you in the face to obvious to anyone with an IQ bigger than their shoe size. He would love nothing more than to make Mick West look that big. DeGrasse Tyson look that big. I don't know who else might be. He might consider a debunker. But he's got that sort of personality, if that's the right word, personality, where he would love to crush these debunkers. He would love to make DeGrasse Tyson look stupid, Mick West look stupid, any other debunker look stupid. But he can't, and he knows he can't. That's why he will run away and hide every time someone suggests to him debating a debunker. Okay, so that's enough of Nolan's nonsense. It's got a ring to it, isn't it? Nolan's nonsense. I was watching an E.T. Elizondo fanboy channel last week. SETI mug. I think it'd be better if that was on the other side, to be honest. Now, this Elizondo fanboy channel, apparently there's one or two people on there have been causing people some problems. I don't know if that's true, but that's what I've heard. One of his guests that never appears, he's got an avatar, looks a little bit like mine. I wonder where he got the idea for that from. Anyway, he said Elizondo is not a grifter. Yeah, we're talking about grifters. He never charges any money for appearances and talks. He sells a few books, but that's it. That's this fanboy channel. This week, the same guy on the same channel said Elizondo only charges $60 entry fee to his talks. So last week, Elizondo never charges any money, he sells a few books, that's it. This week, well, he only charges $60 entry fee to his talks. These people are all over the place, aren't they? They're poor liars. You see, to be a good liar, you've got to be able to remember what you've said. He obviously didn't remember saying Elizondo doesn't charge any money. Sounding a bit like Sid James there. He never charges any money for his presentations, but if you want to attend one, it's going to cost you $60. I've written here, FFS, these clowns don't know what day of the week it is, do they really? This same fanboy channel is still peddling Gene Sticko's book on the reverse-engineered, the Russian engineering, reverse-engineered ET spacecraft. No one's interested in. He sent copies of it to everybody and there's just no response, didn't even thank him for it. And this fanboy channel is still, he has this Sticko guy on there fairly regularly, and he's still peddling Sticko's book. Now, I've written here, you know, the Russian reverse engineering of an ET craft, nonsense, because that's what it is. Sticko tells us. Apparently people have looked at this and they say it makes no sense. I had a very quick look at some of it because I wouldn't pay money for it, but the bit I saw made no sense. It was science fiction rubbish. So Sticko tells us we have to apply different physics to these engineering drawings and explanations. Because our boring normal physics tells us it's all rubbish. So the physics that our normal physics that all these impressive physicists know and understand in great detail is rubbish. If you apply that to Sticko's engineering drawings, they make no sense whatsoever. You have to apply different physics. Now, it'd be good if you wrote a book explaining the different physics. I'm sure that would give plenty of people a good laugh. So just throw everything we know about real physics in the bin and his flying saucer works just fine. That's Gene Sticko. Yeah. This fanboy channel also had Elizondo's lawyer on there, a chap called Ivan Hannell. Now, I'm not usually in a position to watch this guy when he does these live things, and I think afterwards he often makes them members only, and I'm not a member. For some reason, I was around at the time that he was doing it live, so I got to see this. And I thought it was bloody funny. Actually, it was hilarious. Elizondo's lawyer has no time whatsoever for Trump. So poor Mr. Poor Mr. Elizondo has absolutely zero chance of being Trump's chandelier czar while he's got that guy representing him. Oh dear, the fanboy is very obviously a Trump fan because he was getting quite upset with Elizondo's lawyer. He seemed to be... I actually left a comment on there as the live stream was running, you know, any chance of getting back to the core subject, FFS? Because it was going off at a tangent with his politics, you know, anti-Trump this, Trump that. So anyway, it didn't get back to the core subject. The guy running the fanboy channel got up and walked off. I stopped watching at that point, but when I went back, it had been deleted. So I would assume he continued in that vein for as long as he allowed it to continue. But that really was funny, and I was really glad. I'm not usually home at that time of day during the week, and whatever reason it was there, it just came up. This guy's doing a live stream, and I thought, well, this guy's always good for a laugh, you know. If I can catch one of the live streams, I'll have a bit of a look at it. What I tend to do is, by the time I get to see them, they've usually been running for some time. So I go back to the beginning and flick through it, see if there's anything interesting or useful in there. Usually there isn't, they're just rubbish. It's another echo chamber. Although, to be fair, a couple of them were getting stuck into Skywatcher with this last episode that I saw. They were saying, you know, Barber said we're going to produce this evidence by the end of the year. That was last week, you know. Their evidence is being peer-reviewed, you know, by whom? Of course, there's no evidence. Skywatcher can't present any evidence. There is zero tangible evidence to support anything they're doing. The whole proposal for Skywatcher was completely ludicrous. You know, summoning alien spacecraft. Little dot in the sky must be an alien spacecraft. The ludicrous dog whistle. They've had to make that disappear, as I've said, because they can't let anyone technical do an appraisal of it. The whole thing is a farce. They're never going to be able to produce any tangible evidence that ETs are coming here. The 5 steps they said they were going to go through, their tangible evidence being peer reviewed, is what's it going to say, you know? What it isn't going to say is this is tangible evidence of extraterrestrials visiting this planet, of Jake Barber and his gay psionics being able to summon an extraterrestrial spacecraft. There's no such thing as telepathy, there's no such thing as remote viewing, there's no such thing as telekinesis. It's all complete and utter rubbish. And if I was somebody that put money into Skywatcher on the understanding that this is what was going to happen, I'd be asking some serious questions. I'd be saying, okay, we gave you X million dollars, you know, where's it gone? Can you give us a breakdown of where this money has gone? R&D into the dog whistle, you know, $500,000. Can you give us a bill of materials showing us what experiments you did? Where's the engineering drawings? Where's the bill of materials list? I can't imagine a roller door and a bit of retic pipe would have cost very much. A couple of piezo tweeters and a second-hand PA amplifier from a closed-down mall, probably. You know? I mean, it's just bullshit. So anything to do with Skywatcher is just rubbish, you know. So anyway, as I've said, to be fair, this fanboy channel with his panel were getting stuck into Skywatcher. So maybe he's sort of blinkered Elizondo supporter. But outside of that, other people can be not credible. Maybe he's drank the Elizondo Kool-Aid, but other people are fair game. I'll have to pay a bit more attention to what he's saying on there. Unless, of course, he's a Skywatcher investor. He might be some sour grapes there. put some money into Skywatcher and got FA for it, just like the people that put money into the TTSA. Okay, so yeah. Anyway, you won't get an opportunity to see it. Elizondo's lawyer, Ivan Hannell, being interviewed on this fanboy channel because he deleted it immediately. It did run on for about an hour, and he was getting really quite upset, quite hot under the collar, this fanboy. But I thought every sentence that Elizondo's lawyer said put Elizondo another kilometre away from being Trump's chandelier czar. Trump sees that guy's signature or anything, he's going to say, get this out of my sight. You know what Trump's like, you know. You can't take the slightest criticism. You know, if you criticise Trump, you're a bad person. You're a very bad person. Oh dear. Now, I saw Eric Burlison being interviewed. This is another fanboy channel, and I thought we did well actually to do this interview, to get this interview. And he did the interview well, I thought. I mean, a lot of these interviewers, it's all about the interviewer. I am. They're interrupting all the time, you know. This guy asked a question and let Mr. Burlison answer the question. So it was a good interview. Now, Mr. Burlison tells us the disclosure world is full of factions that are at each other's throats. I've said before, you know, it's falling apart at the seams, it's circling the drain, everyone wants to be number one. You know, so you've got all these factions behind the scenes, and Mr. Burlison has been thrown into this. He said, I'm a finance guy, I don't know anything about this stuff, that's why I've got Grusch on board to point me in the right direction. No, really? Grusch? You really need somebody capable of critical thinking that knows a little bit about it. You don't, not a fanboy, you know, like Grusch. Not someone that's been dragged off to the nut house in the middle of the night. Not someone that's refused to provide their op-ed. Not someone that called in sick to Luna's skiff. You need somebody that's serious, you know, not a blinkered fanboy. So, and when he was thrown into this, he found that the disclosure world is full of factions that are at each other's throats. It'd be good to actually get a list of, you know, how many factions there are and who is in each individual faction. You know, they're all saying, "Oh, this guy's a bullshitter. Listen to me." You know, I'm the real deal. You know, all these other clowns are just bullshitters. You know, they're fake whistleblowers. Listen to me. Every faction is saying exactly the same thing. What they're not doing is providing any tangible evidence. They don't say, Mr. Burlison, look, these guys are science fiction bullshitters. They're all fake whistleblowers. I'm the real deal. I've been working on this program. Here's some material. Get it analysed. Give it to Arrow. Get it analysed. And you'll find, get it analysed by a couple of reputable universities, and you'll find that it's the real deal. It's extraterrestrial technology. That doesn't happen because none of them are the real deal. So I really don't envy Eric Burlison this job, you know, dealing with these people. Personally, I don't think I would have the patience for it. I'd just say, yeah, look, you saw what, you know, they wrote down their testimonies and you've lost them, or the dog ate them. Get out of my office, Nuccetelli, you're wasting my time, you know. Get out of my office, Borland, and take your triangle drawing with you. You know, I wouldn't have the patience to deal with these people. So, that comes as no surprise to me. There are all these factions that saying they're the real thing. They want the focus to be on them, probably because if the focus is on them, they'll get more publicity and they'll suck more money in. It can't be for any other reason, can it, really? I mean, it can't be because they're going to disclose anything. They're going to be the ones to tell the world we're not alone in the cosmos. because no one's going to be in a position to do that. So all of these factions of fake whistleblowers that think they have a chance of making a good living out of the great UFO-tainment swindle. That's all it is. All these little groups. Listen to me, don't listen to them, listen to me, You know, they're the ones that want to be in the spotlight. Don't listen to those clowns, listen to me. Even though I don't have a scrap of tangible evidence to support what I'm saying, listen to me. I can shout louder than them. So, yeah, fortunately Mr. Burlison is not falling for this bullshit. Mr. Burlison is saying we should be sceptical, very sceptical, and he's looking for people that actually have first-hand experience with extraterrestrial technology or biology, that can present some tangible evidence, that can be peer-reviewed by reputable universities. He's not interested in any more science fiction stories. That's what he said. He is looking for real, first-hand witnesses that can prove what they're saying with tangible evidence. So good on Mr. Burlison for that. And I hope his policy is adopted by the rest of Luna's team. I really do. I thought Luna was going to subpoena Elizondo. When Elizondo didn't turn up to her skiff, she said, "I'll see you. I'll see you in the skiff when I've subpoenaed you, Elizondo." What happened to that? Because if that happened, Luna would find out it's all science fiction rubbish very, very quickly. So there's an asterisk there. What's the asterisk? Oh yeah, Burlison also tells us that he went to Peru, not to see the mummies specifically, but he thought while he was there he would go and have a look. And I think he met Jaime Maussan. He said he's a really nice chap. Of course, nice chaps can be full of shit. Maussan has previous. How many times has Maussan put forward fake aliens? I wouldn't give Maussan the time of day, however nice he is. You know, would you like a cup of tea? Maybe a cucumber sandwich, Mr. Mumbling? Yes, absolutely, Mr. Maussan. Doesn't mean I believe a word of what you're saying. Doesn't mean I believe your mummies are ETs. So anyway, Mr. Burlison went to have a look at these mummies while he was there, and he tells us all he was presented with, all he saw, was a couple of small dolls. He went like that. Meaningless. So at least Mr. Burlison had a look. At least Mr. Burlison has had enough of all the science fiction stories, and he's only going to be entertaining witnesses, first-hand witnesses, with tangible evidence to support what they're saying. And I suspect he's not going to be getting any, because there is no tangible evidence on Earth of visiting ETs. Now, pretty warm today. Jacques Vallee appeared on Weaponized. Corbelll and Knapp's nonsense. He said he had a process described to him, so it's nothing he knows about. He's had this described to him. It's a very sophisticated process by which we may, not we can, I've been told we may be able to interact with the entities. I sincerely hope he's not talking about Eamon Ansbrough's drivel. PVC pipes with coils wound round them. He said this interaction took place at a facility he's never heard of. So this is a story he's been told. There was a structured interaction on a continuing basis with specialists from different areas, and the people who told him about this were extreme specialists in a particular discipline. So you've got a number of different disciplines by the sound of it, and these people are all talking to the aliens, you know, so the chef on the starship will be talking to the cook. The navigator on the starship, you know, will be talking to an Air Force navigator, you know, be telling the Air Force navigator how they navigate around the galaxy using pulsars, you know, these pulsars, these collapsed stars or neutron stars or whatever they are. They have a unique pulse repetition rate. You know, this one, that pulse repetition rate, you know that it's that bearing. Another pulse repetition rate, you know, it's another bearing, another one, another bearing, all unique pulse repetition rates. Now you can navigate around the galaxy using pulsars. The galaxy's GPS is already in place. GPS, of course, standing for Galactic Positioning System. Anyway, back to Mr. Vallee. I don't believe this. This is what he's been told. They may. It's too vague. Zero evidence to support what he's saying. You know, how long has Jacques Vallee been in the UFO ET game? You know, back in the 70s, Spielberg based a character in his Close Encounters of the Third Kind movie on Jacques Vallee. You know, the French guy in Close Encounters of the Third Kind was based on Jacques Vallee. So, you know, he's been doing this since 1955, and he has zero tangible evidence to support us communicating with aliens. Zero tangible evidence to support aliens, extraterrestrials coming to this planet. Zero tangible evidence to support they're crashing on this planet. Zero tangible evidence to support we're reverse engineering their technology. That's Jacques Vallee. And he's been looking at this since 1955, and he's got nothing. He can't produce a scrap of tangible evidence to support ETs coming here, crashing here, their tech being reverse engineered here. That alone should tell you it's complete and utter rubbish. Listen to how he speaks, his terminology. We may. He had a process described to him. Waste of time, Jack Vallee. Personal opinion, put a line through Vallee. Actually, you can put a line through all of them, because none of this is real. You know, none of them are going to be able to present anything to prove otherwise. You know. I've said it before, it doesn't matter who you are. If you're telling me ETs are coming here and you want me and others to believe it, prove it. Don't just give us all these science fiction stories. Oh, I didn't note the time when I started. How long have we been going? I normally say this is the date and this is the time, don't I? It's probably because I'm running late today. I'm running late. Anyway, yeah, put a line through Vallee. Complete and utter rubbish. Now, this gave me a laugh. A guy called Jay Anderson was on the Joe Rogan podcast. This is a bit of an aside, but it won't take long. He spoke about the pyramids in Egypt having huge power infrastructure below them. Yeah, I won't waste my time on that nonsense personally. I think it would insult the intelligence of a cheese and pickle sandwich. There has never been any kind of electrical device recovered from any ancient Egyptian dwelling. Not one toaster. Not one microwave oven. Not one TV. Not one radio. Not one laptop. So what exactly would a power generating pyramid be generating power for? They're like having a nuclear power station in the middle of a mud hut village in Africa with not one electrical appliance in any of the mud huts. It's completely ridiculous, isn't or having a nuclear power station, a nuclear power plant in Antarctica, and not connecting your Antarctic research base to it. Although an Antarctic research base would have a lot of electrical devices, come to think of it. It's not a particularly good example. But you know what I mean. You know, you've got a pyramid generating massive amounts of electrical power. You know, cities all around it, villages all around it. Not one of them has got a single appliance that runs on electrical power, on electricity. So I think it's safe to put a line through the pyramids being any kind of power generator. Saw another guy talking about that the other day. He was saying, oh yeah, it's a chemical plant. They've got hydrochloric acid in it, there's sulfuric acid in this one, and in this pyramid, and that in that pyramid. And I thought, well, this is going to dissolve the limestone in no time at all. There's so much rubbish out there being spoken about this stuff. Okay, so anyway, why I'm mentioning Mr. Anderson? He tells Rogan he doesn't like Lou Elizondo very much. He said he knows Elizondo backs trolls that troll people that are against Elizondo. And he gave some examples. I think some groups on X, as I've said before, I don't look at X, that support Elizondo, and if you say anything against Elizondo, they're on you. They're attacking you. And Elizondo likes all these, you know, and supports them apparently. That's what Mr. Anderson was saying. So he said Elizondo is not a nice chap. And he said when he's tried to interview Elizondo and Gary Nolan, they try to steer the narrative. They'll only give an interview on the understanding you don't ask them certain questions. Now, this goes back to Nolan not wanting to debate debunkers. You know, just the slightest pushback and he would fold up like a pack of cards. Nolan would fold up like a pack of cards. So if he's saying before the interview, him and Elizondo, they're trying to steer the narrative towards the ET, in the ET direction, they're a waste of time. If there was anything to this, they'd be happy to tell you the truth. They wouldn't be interested in steering narratives. That only happens when the person steering the narrative is steering you towards a steaming pile of bullshit. Okay, so there's no chance of getting Nolan out of his protective echo chamber of backslappers. He knows he'll be destroyed within minutes, he'll be crucified, he knows that. He's smart enough to know that at least. Anyway, back to the even funnier bit. Mr. Anderson tells us he spoke to someone called Brad Sorensen, who's a government guy, an aerospace engineer, apparently something to do with Lockheed Martin. Now, Sorensen has told him that this other guy, I can't remember his name, he did an artist's impression of a flying saucer. It looked pathetic to me. Rogan said he's got one on his wall. But it's just rubbish. You can tell it's rubbish just by looking at the fleeting glimpse I got of the cutaway. Rogan is impressed by this. He's got one on his wall. Anderson said, yeah, so have I, come to think of it. So these guys are, at the very best, seriously gullible. So anyway, he says he spoke to this Brad Sorensen guy. Sorensen told him he was taken into a hangar back in the 70s, I think this was, and saw 3 hovering saucers. This supposedly happened back in the 70s. Yeah, right. It's all the rage then, wasn't it? Hovering saucers. Now, these saucers were described as instantaneous nuclear payload delivery systems. Oh dear. This hangar was apparently at Lockheed Martin. These saucers were described as instantaneous nuclear payload delivery systems. Joe Rogan was impressed by this. Instantaneous, wow, you know, why are we so secret? You know. And of course, you know, an instantaneous nuclear payload delivery system could be used to instantaneously deliver conventional payloads. We don't see that, do we? Could be used to instantaneously deliver me my chicken and chips from Red Rooster. This really is. I was thinking of lunch in order to be watched, you notice that? As soon as I mentioned chicken and chips. So, you know, an instantaneous nuclear payload delivery system, of course, can be any kind of instantaneous delivery system. It doesn't have to be a nuclear payload. We don't see this. It's science fiction rubbish. This hangar was apparently at Lockheed Martin. Company fake whistleblowers often quote because they think it adds credibility. It doesn't, of course. You know, these sort of claims, you need tangible evidence. These sort of stories are in one ear and out the other. They're just bullshit. These are three instantaneous nuclear payload delivery systems. These three sources had nice fluffy nicknames. Mama Bear, Papa Bear and Baby Bear. FFS. This guy's on Rogan. Mind you, Rogan was lapping it up. I can't really believe I'm wasting my time on this drivel. Mr. Anderson continues. During a phone call he overheard, Brad Sorensen said his employers would fry him for telling the caller he could design and build an aircraft that can travel at 210 times the speed of light. An aircraft that can travel at 210 times the speed of light. An aircraft, not a spacecraft, an aircraft. Can you imagine? And where would you go in an aircraft that could travel at 210 times the speed of light? You know, I mean, what, London to Sydney? I mean, how many nanoseconds, picoseconds would that take? I should have worked that out, really. I should have calculated that for a laugh. Of course, you know, accelerating to 210 times the speed of light and then decelerating in time to land Sydney, you know, you'd be mush, of course. So the fact that he said that he can design and build an aircraft that can travel at 210 times the speed of light, not a spacecraft that can travel at 210 times the speed of light, tells us all we need to know about Mr. Sorensen. Again, Rogan appeared impressed, so did Mr. Anderson. Wow, 210 times the speed of light, really? Wow, you know, I mean, how gullible are these people? I would have just fallen about laughing. You wouldn't have been able to finish the phone call. You know, if I overheard somebody say that on the phone, I would be rolling around on the floor, laughing hysterically. They wouldn't be able to hear the phone call at the other end. It's complete and utter rubbish, drivel. It would insult the intelligence of a cheese and pickle sandwich. So that tells us all we need to know about his mate's cutaway drawing of a flying saucer with the gas cylinders in it. It's just dross. So, put a line through Mr. Sorensen. Complete and utter rubbish, complete and utter waste of time. Goodness knows why Mr. Anderson and Mr. Rogan seem genuinely impressed by this drivel. Maybe Anderson's a free energy nut. He's got a YouTube channel, the name of which suggests to me he may be a free energy believer. I don't know that. That's just an impression that I got. I haven't watched any of his videos. But someone that believes free energy is real might believe someone could engineer an aircraft to travel at 210 times the speed of light. so far beyond ludicrous. I wasn't even sure whether to mention this or not, but I thought it was funny, so I thought I'd chuck it in there. If he believes in free energy, he may seriously believe this is possible. As I've said before, no such thing as free energy. Nothing in nature is free. Science fiction rubbish. And is it finally? Yeah, finally I saw Ross Coulthart and Richard Dolan talking about something that can travel underwater faster than sound can travel in air. I didn't look that up, but it's pretty fast. It's about 700 miles an hour, is it? Not far short of that. So, yeah. I mean, the Russians, as I've said before, have the Shkval, which can do 370 kilometres an hour underwater back in the 70s. Supercavitating rocket-propelled torpedo. That's over 200 miles an hour. So is there something that can go at 700 miles an hour underwater? Some supercavitating device? Maybe. Maybe. What there isn't, of course, is any link between that and extraterrestrials. Of course, they offer no tangible evidence for this claim. And even if they did provide, as I said before, even if they did provide evidence, here's a sonar track of something travelling at this speed underwater, it might just be a trail of bubbles left by a supercavitating device that makes it look that size, makes it look that long. There is zero tangible link between that and extraterrestrials. If the Russians can make something that does 370 kilometres an hour underwater back in the 70s, I would think making something that can do 700 miles an hour underwater now is not beyond the realms of possibility. Doesn't mean it's extraterrestrial. Okay, well, I might even... yes, look at that. It's exactly in the middle of my nice free notebook. That's from the... I won't tell you where it's from. But it's from a nice hotel down south anyway. As always, if you've struggled through the video all the way to this point, many thanks for watching, and maybe I'll catch you again. That was the chair, honestly.